Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this EADL webinar on on growth and the growth formula, which is something I'm really looking forward to because if there's a secret about growth, I really want to know about it. So I hope you're all interested to get involved with that. We've got a couple of nice speakers lined up for you, and I'll let everybody introduce themselves in a minute. I just wanted to say that as the European Association for Distance Learning, we're hopefully at the forefront of engaging people in discussions about what's important for distance learning. And certainly getting and retaining customers is an important part of everybody's business. And it's just as true for distance learning and distance education as anything else. So be interesting to see what transpires. And we also know that telling a story is a good way of retaining customers and getting your point across. So we'll see how that pans out as well. One last plug for EADL. We also have our first full-time workshop, a whole day at OEB on December the 3rd in Berlin. And that's a great event, and I hope you're going to be able to join us. You can find it on eadl.org, and I'll come back and remind you about that at the end of the afternoon. So without too much of further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our moderator this afternoon, who is Tony Hopwood, and he'll run you through the process.
Thank you very much, John, and a very good afternoon to everybody. My name is Tony Hopwood, and I'm a member of the organising committee for the webinars and the conferences that EADL runs. It's my very great pleasure this afternoon to introduce you to the first of our conversationalists, Ellen Gunning. She's the director of the Irish Academy of Public Relations, which was started in 1992, and she's also the CEO of Metacoms, an organization that's been running since 2020. She's a very well-known international authority in the area of public relations. She's widely published a number of books and articles, and has won numerous awards. She's also a great conversationalist, as I know, having shared many very interesting conversations with her. And I'm very much looking forward to this conversation between her and Lorraine this afternoon. So without further ado, I hand you over to Ellen to introduce herself.
Thanks, Tony. Super introduction. As Tony said, I'm Ellen Gunning. I've two businesses, as you mentioned. So I thought what I might do very briefly is just tell you a little about each of the two, and then give you an outline of what we see happening in the future with education. So Metacoms, the newest business, is an AI platform. It's powered to deliver verified sources of information on any topic. The topics are filtered into 5 different areas: politics, public opinion, economic insights, academic research, and media coverage. And we use all 5 of those filters to inform our work on the education side of the house. And the education side of the house is the Irish Academy of Public Relations. And the Irish Academy of Public Relations, as Tony said, is 30 odd, maybe nearly 40 years in existence at this stage. We began as a teaching institution at universities around Ireland, and we now teach primarily corporate training online worldwide. Our tutors are based both in Ireland, in Dublin, where we're based, and worldwide, because we have a huge regard for both local knowledge and cultural understanding. How anywhere you train, you need to really understand the environment in which you're training. And we have a tremendous respect for that, and I've built up a huge team over the years. If you look at education and where education is going in the future, and you look at Metacoms and say, well, we'll pool together all of the research, show me what people are talking about, tell me what the AI people believe is going to happen, sketch out the future of education for me, whether that's taught or distance. And what we're seeing is that education is going to become much more fractional. So in the future, the idea of doing a 3-year degree or a 2-year doctorate is going to be less and less, smaller and smaller and smaller numbers, much more fractional. The education that people will require will be primarily around skill sets. So it will be things that they can do. And the things that they can do may well be things that they can do with artificial intelligence. So the people, AI, I heard somebody saying recently that AI will not make people redundant, but the people who will remain employed are the people who can use AI. I'm not sure that that's true. I think AI will make huge numbers of people redundant. But I do think that it's here. It's going to be here for the future, and it's going to have a massive impact on education, not only on the way we educate students. So do we give them personal avatars to help them study? Will we actually sit with a student and say, please choose the style of study that you would most like? Are you, in my case, I'm text-based. I love to read, but there are others who love to learn by watching. So would you prefer videos? Would you prefer one-to-one tutor? Would you prefer to go away and do your own research and then come back into a debate? And education will become much more individualized. It will also become much more global. So the idea that somebody, traditionally a parent would say to a child, you need to study in, if you're studying at third level, you need to study in X university or one of 3 or 4 universities in our local city. That's much less likely to happen in the future. The future employee, because that's the ultimate end game in education, is going to be a global citizen, much more of a global citizen. So their focus will be on what are the qualifications that make me most globally employable, because the employment net will be much, much smaller. There will also be a huge focus on strategic and creative thinking. So the people, if you look at the way people traditionally educated in the past, you educated people, for example, you can see it right now. People used to study maths. Back when I was a child, we learned the 2 and 2 are 4. It was easy to do. You did your addition, your subtraction, your multiplication, your division. Nobody does that now, or if they do it now, nobody remembers it. So you go into a store and you give somebody 20 euros and it's an 18 euro chip bill. And if you're still dealing in cash, whoever is serving you will say, oh, let me get a calculator. I can't actually work that out on my own. You say, it's 18 from 20. It's really simple. You owe me 2 euros now. No, I'm not sure. Let me get a calculator. And we used to joke that it was a negative and that students just didn't have the ability to do this anymore when they left school. But now we're looking at, why does anybody need to learn things like that? Why do you need to learn history or maths or geography? Why do you actually need to learn? Now, I personally am a believer that I like things running around inside my head. I like to think that the old grey matter has actually picked up things over the years. But the future focus is, why concentrate on teaching somebody history when they can find out whatever has happened historically? Why not focus on how they can analyze history? Focus on what kind of strategy they can build based on what they're already seeing. And that's the same for geography, it's the same for maths, it's the same for every subject. So the focus will be not on teaching people, and that will affect the way we examine people, and not on examining the knowledge that they have managed to learn and retain. But the challenge will be to examine them on, can they access information that's relevant to the question? And what do they do with the information when they get it? How do they actually make that strategically relevant? That's from a student point of view. And then from a business point of view, whether you're an in-person or a distance educator, the key challenges for business are going to be around all of those things that PR actually brings. So my background is in public relations, and I should have said Irish Academy of Public Relations trains only in a communications area. So PR, journalism, event management, content creation, lobbying, political advocacy, all of those areas that are in comms. So if you look at what PR is going to bring to a business focus on education, educational bodies in the future will need to focus much more on things like reputation. So reputation, if you think about it, is very, very difficult to build up and very easily lost. 1 picosecond and you've lost your reputation. And with social media, somebody puts up a post and says, this is a mill. These people don't really teach you anything. This is a horrible college. They take my money and I get nothing for it. And years ago, you had some chance of catching that before it took flight. Now you haven't. Now it's gone viral in seconds. So reputation, actually building a reputation for being reliable, for being cutting edge, for being relevant is really, really important. And that comes down to how you promote yourself and your business, so that more and more and more people know that if something has happened, they're likely to give you the benefit of the doubt. A good reputation means that if you tell me something about your college and I really don't believe it, I listen and say, no, it doesn't sound like them. They're a very reputable college. I'll check it out. If you don't have a reputation or don't have a good reputation, I'm much more likely to say, oh, I didn't know that. So they're just a mill churning out results. Interesting. And you're now back below square one, trying to fight it off. The second area is visibility. So in order to build a reputation, you obviously must be visible. And to be visible, you need to be visible in those areas that your students are looking at. So visibility is about not deciding that I would like the college to be seen in, or I would like our body to be seen in each of these different areas. Visibility is about looking at where do our students actually come from and what do they use? So what do they read? What do they listen to? What's their watering hole? Where do they go to find information? Because you want to be sitting in that watering hole when they arrive. It's not really about pushing out, because if you look at the way media has changed even in the last 3 years, maybe, when you try to contact somebody now, you can look at you can look at a family sitting around a table at the moment, and the family will all be influenced by different people. They'll be listening to different podcasts. They'll be following different people. They'll be accessing their media information from different places. So 5 people around a table might have a very different understanding of the same topic. So visibility is about finding where your people are actually visible, where they go to look for information, and sitting in that space. And you need to be very credible. And being very credible means that you need to be absolutely sure that everything you do has a good and an ethical and a sound base. And that's becoming more and more important, because that reflects your values. And values, if you look at the way values are being challenged at the moment, if you look at the way values are actually under threat at the moment, companies are now afraid to say they stand for things because they may attract negative publicity from the United States. So they're not saying anything in Europe that they would otherwise have said. They're keeping their heads below the parapet. But if you look at the other side of it, if you look at people like us who actually look to those companies to buy from them, we actually look and say, what do they stand for? And if they stand for nothing, do I really want to do business with them? A college that really isn't going to stand up for anybody's right to speak as they wish to? Surely that's what a college is about. Surely education is about making all those mistakes and having those great debates, and in a moderated way, in a respectful way, but it's got to be about those great debates. And that surely is what leads you to become a better strategic thinker. So values are also going to become much more important in the future. So education is going to be more fractional. It's going to be more global. In some respects, it's going to be more skills-based, although the greater and greater the power of AI and robotics, the lesser and lesser the need for skills. It's definitely going to have a focus on strategy. And from a business point of view, that will mean fewer students, definitely more cost to the student and more cost to you, even with AI. And that means that your reputation and your PR skills become even more important in the future, because if they can't find you, they can't trust you to teach them, and if they can't trust you to teach them, you don't have a business. But I didn't mean to end on a negative note. I actually think it's a really exciting challenge that we all face. I'm looking forward to what Lorraine is going to say, and I'm really looking forward to the debate afterwards.
Thank you, Ellen, for those insights and pointers and predictions and many points to dwell on. My name is Christos Hadjiyannis. I work for the Cyprus Business School, and I sit on the R&D committee of EADL, and as part of our remit is also to organize these free and open and frequent webinars. It's my great pleasure, and I think I know I speak on behalf of everyone at EADL to be welcoming Lorraine Dallmeier, a biologist, a chartered environmentalist, and multi-award-winning digital entrepreneur. We know Lorraine as both the leader of Formula Botanica and as a speaker on entrepreneurship, beauty, and sustainability. So I'll hand over to Lorraine for her presentation, and then we will regroup and have the last half an hour or so for discussion and many questions and perhaps also some answers. Over to you, Lorraine.
Thank you, Christos, and thank you, Ellen, and thank you, EADL, for welcoming me to your webinar. I always love what you guys do, and thank you to everyone for attending. I hope I can deliver the value, although I think I'm about to deliver a case study on everything Ellen just talked about. So I've got some slides. Let me bring them up, and then we'll go through them together, and then we'll come back into the room. So let me just maximize this. Hopefully everyone can see that. I'm going to be talking to you about how I grew Formula Botanica. Just a little bit of context. Formula Botanica is the award-winning online organic cosmetic formulation school. So we teach people how to make skincare and hair care using natural ingredients. And here are some of the photos from our courses. And we are on a mission to teach the world to formulate. These are just some of the awesome beauty products that actually my team has made over the years. So you can see all sorts of colorful and lovely things in there. This is the sort of thing that we teach. We're teaching a very practical skill, but we're doing so online. Now, a bit of key info about us. We have over 22,000 students and graduates. And I just want to put this into context, first of all, because I actually bought Formula Botanica. It was supposed to be my side hustle hobby business when I was on maternity leave. It was just me. We just had, I think a handful of students at that point. Now we have over 22,000. We've taught in 194 countries and territories. Every single time I think we can't possibly extend it, we enroll someone in a new place. A few months ago, we enrolled our first student in Uzbekistan. We even have students in Liechtenstein, in Palau. I mean, tiny, tiny island nations out there in the Pacific Ocean. It's incredible. We have about 35 staff in the team. They're all remote as well, though we mainly recruit in the UK. We have 4 award-winning courses. And actually, I looked this stat up specifically for this talk. I didn't realize this, but we've sold over 65,000 courses in the last 10 years. So I'm very proud of that. And as a result of the courses that we deliver, we have over 2,000 5-star reviews on Trustpilot, which we're also incredibly proud of. So just put this into context. 10 years ago, it was just me at the kitchen table with my laptop and my phone and my baby and my toddler. Today, we are a global education institution. And I'm going to talk you through how we got to where we got to in a minute after I've just told you about what we teach. So we have 4 online courses. We have one in skincare, one in hair care. We have an advanced course. So people start with either skincare or hair care, then they flow into the advanced course. And then we have a beauty business management course as well. Almost everyone who studies with us wants to start their own business. So they are future entrepreneurs. They want to learn how to make the product, and then they want to learn how to sell the product. So we offer the whole suite. We also have a membership site for formulators, for people who want to continue with continuing professional development. These are just a bunch of the mini courses that we have in there that tackle all the trending topics that we see in the industry. And it's called The Lab at Formula Botanica. So let's look at where the brand is in 2025. People aspire to study with us. I'm very, very proud of that. I've worked incredibly hard at building a brand that is that strong. And our certificates legitimize the profession. Students, they save up for years to come and study with us, to enroll with us. And as a result of that, we divert people away from university. There are a few universities around the world that that teach cosmetic chemistry, but the vast majority of them will not teach you how to work with natural and organic ingredients, and they will not teach you how to create a business as a result of it. We're even finding that big companies are sending their staff to study with us. And we have a blog, which will tie into what I'm talking about later, as to how I grew Formula Botanica. And our blog rivals the big publications in our industry. We get more hits on our blog than many of the publications that serve the cosmetics industry. So this is where the brand is in 2025. And we've been going since 2012, and I bought the school shortly after that. Oops. Okay. And this is just a snapshot of some of our graduates. They're very, very proud to be Formula Botanica graduates. We have such a thing in our community as the certificate selfie, because obviously that is an awesome thing for us to collect. We have hundreds and hundreds of these images of people going, I studied with Formula Botanica and I'm proud of it. So let's talk through the marketing strategy that I built for Formula Botanica. I'm going to go through this very, very briefly. This is a very high level overview. There is much more to it, obviously. I think this will very much also reaffirm everything Ellen was talking about earlier. There are 4 key steps to it. The first one is authority, then community, reciprocity, and scarcity. So let me talk you through what each of those things means. Firstly, authority for us means you show up as the trusted voice with evidence-based, high-quality content so people know that they're learning from the best. And this is a lofty aspiration, so let me talk you through very high level how we do this. Firstly, we have a content creation strategy. This means we have over 700 blog posts on our website and just shy of 300 podcasts, which I'm very proud to say have had over 1 million global downloads. Now, I'm a prolific content creator, so this was the first thing that I put in place, really. Every single week, come rain or shine, we put out a blog post and a podcast. And it's been like that for 12 years. And because of that, we've built up this massive bank of content. And because of that, people come to our website to digest that content. And it builds us up as the authority in our industry. Social media positioning has been a big one for us too. Here's a snapshot of our Instagram account this week. We have over 140,000 followers there. We're building up on YouTube. We're getting closer to 100,000. We're trying to basically use social media again to position us as the authority. And it's very hard to know what to put on social media if you don't have content. And that's where our content creation strategy obviously flows out. Because if you're putting out a blog post and a podcast every week, you always have something to talk about, right? Public speaking and webinars has been a big part of this as well. I've done a little bit less of this over the last few years, but things like this particular webinar, but also I've been on many big stages. And testimonials and success stories, which is what Ellen was talking about earlier. And as I said already, we have over 2,000 5-star reviews on Trustpilot. And we've worked incredibly hard at that. There is a whole backstory to it, which I'm happy to share if we ever get there. But it's really important that people land on our website and they see that credibility and that authority. And Trustpilot for us is front and center. And actually, whenever anyone visits our website, they come to me afterwards and go, wow, those reviews were amazing. And they really are. And that, I think, is a big part of how we've grown too. So that's step 1. Let's move to step 2, which is community. We want to make people feel like they're part of something that's bigger than themselves. And that little photo on the left there is actually, here I am at the front of my green dress. It's we got all the students together who we could at that point. People flew in from 35 countries. It was amazing. So what does this mean in practice? Well, because we're an online school, we don't really get together that often in person, and people are in 194 countries and territories, so we use online groups. And for now, that the best place to do that for us is still Facebook. It pains me to say it because I don't really want to be on Facebook anymore, but it is still the best platform for it. There are others coming out of the woodwork like School with a K and Circle and places like that. But for now, we use Facebook, and we have a school group on there which has over 15,000 members. So those are our students and graduates. And we have a free networking group as well, where we again position ourselves as the authority and we bring together all the beauty entrepreneurs we can find globally. And that has just shy of 100,000 members. We hit 99,000 this week. So this is really important for us because this is where people can connect with each other. We also host live webinars all the time. We do all sorts of things. In fact, I'm hosting a 3-hour webinar tonight, which is going to be pretty intense. We do in-person events and meetups when we can. That picture on the right was actually taken at a trade show in Amsterdam earlier this year. I was there with 6 members of my team, and we just put out a message in our community and said, we're going to be here on this day at this time, meet us in this place, and 40 people showed up. It was incredible. Our community is very tight-knit and they seek each other out whenever they can. And it's because of the fact that we've created that community feel that it's really led to this. In fact, later this year, we're actually doing a global meetup week in November, where we've got students and graduates hosting meetups for us all over the world because we can't be everywhere. And they're all going to meet at the same time in the same sort of period of time. And I'm expecting hundreds or thousands of photos from people all over the world. And word of mouth is incredibly important. Your reputation can be easily damaged, as Ellen said, but it can also easily grow if you provide a fantastic product, a fantastic support service, and a fantastic community with it. And word of mouth has been phenomenal for us over the years because, of course, when people are talking about making cosmetics, there are only a few places that they can have those discussions, and we come up all the time in those discussions. Step 3, reciprocity. This is my favorite. It means that we help first by giving away real value so that people feel supported before they even buy. And this, most companies don't do this, but we found that this has grown us on steroids, basically. So we invest in creating goodwill through generosity. That means we give stuff away all the time. And in return, we get loyalty, we get referrals, we get sales, we get that word of mouth. Again, as I said at the beginning, people aspire to study with us because of the reciprocity component. So we do that through big free online training events. We have trained over 800,000 people for free over the last decade. Very proud of that as well. We always say our mission is to teach the world to formulate natural skincare and hair care. And we can do that by teaching these massive free events. In fact, if you're interested, we are currently in one right now, which is why I'm doing this 3-hour webinar tonight. We provide a whole training course. It's all pre-recorded because people are in all sorts of time zones. We present it as a mini Netflix series, and you can just binge watch all the episodes and then learn how to make your own pumpkin face cream. So if you head over to formulabotanica.com after this webinar, just go and sign up and you can follow along. And if you want to formulate, more power to you. I wish you lots of fun with it. But we do the reciprocity component through always giving away things for free. The other thing, of course, is we provide content all the time, as I said at the beginning, blogs, podcasts every week. And that means we have something to send to people. There is nothing worse than opening up your inbox and just finding a whole raft of sales emails. Buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this. So we do this differently. We don't do those buy this emails until we're finally in that window where we've actually opened up enrollment. Instead, we go, have this, take this, please learn from this, share it with your friends, make the thing that we're teaching you, and we're doing it all for free. And because of that, people stay on our mailing list as well. So we have hundreds of thousands of subscribers because they want to hear from us every week. So this value first strategy, it builds trust. And it leads to a lot of growth and sales and marketing as well. And I think a lot of people are scared of giving away too much because they think people will only use the free stuff. Well, some people will only use the free stuff, but a percentage of those people will come and buy your courses as well. That's how we've sold 65,000 courses. And then the final pillar is scarcity. And this is quite possibly not quite my favorite, but it's certainly up there. It creates urgency with limited access so that people act while the opportunity is there. And the traditional education system does this very well. We all know generally you start the academic year in September. That is the beautiful scarcity that's built in there. We go slightly further. So we drive action through scarcity. And because we have this free training, for instance, the one that we're in right now, that disappears. So that's step number 1. We can't continue to offer these things all year round. You have a limited time window to focus your attention on the thing that we're giving you for free. And we want you to consume it. And then we want you to move on to the next step. We also have time-bound, very short enrollment windows, typically never more than 6 days. If we can get away with it, 3 or 4 days. It really focuses people's attention. If you say you have a 2-week window to sign up, oh my goodness, it's like crickets halfway through. Be really busy on day 1, incredibly busy on the final day when everyone panics, and then there'll just be a few people sort of trickling around in the middle. So we found condense it. Just do that because it seems to work a lot better. And in fact, we typically would enroll about 25 to 30% of that student intake in the final 24 hours. So we know exactly what the sort of sign up rate is and when it happens. We also offer early bird bonuses. We want to reward people who take action quickly. So for instance, this evening on the webinar, I'll be offering a free course to anyone who enrolls during that webinar. It works well because they realize the free course will be gone when the webinar ends. Again, there are different ways of putting scarcity in place. You can obviously change the price. You can close things down so it's gone entirely. You can offer freebies, but scarcity is one of the biggest marketing drivers I've ever seen. And in fact, when I brought scarcity into Formula Botanica, we doubled our revenues. It was incredible. The other thing we do, which I don't see many people doing, but we announce price increases. So we increased our fees earlier this year, and rather than just increasing them, we always go out to people and go, they're going up, but not yet. You've got one final chance to come and buy from us. Come and sign up now. And that really drives growth and marketing and sales as well. So that's scarcity. So just to recap very briefly before I come back into the room and we have a chat, our marketing strategy really hinges on these 4 pillars of authority and credibility, community, reciprocity, and scarcity. So with that said, here I am with some of our graduate products. I get sent parcels and parcels from all over the world. My whole office is full of skincare. Come and follow us at Lorraine Dallmeier. So first of all, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. Come and follow us at Formula Botanica as well. We are on every platform, so you can find us everywhere. Our main one is Instagram, but we're going to go in hard on YouTube next year. And come and sign up for our free training on formulabotanica.com if you want to see what we're up to. And with that said, I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to come back into the room.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lauren. And I loved how the two of you sort of like spoke to. It's like you were answering many of Ellen's questions. I'd like to invite everyone to come into the conversation. Raise your virtual hand. Type your question in the chat, type your question in the Q&A. But before we do that, I just wanted to invite you, Ellen, to if you have a comment on Lorraine's presentation. As I was struck by how many of the things you flagged as potential threats. Reputational damage, for example, is kind of like, it's very difficult to imagine that there will be a reputation like someone posting something negative about Formula Botanica and gaining traction, because the community is so strong, and that it will either be immediately disregarded, and rightly so, as slander, or I imagine all these Formula Botanists appearing and just sort of like gathering around the reputation. But yeah, I would like to invite you to comment on any aspect of Lorraine's presentation if you'd like.
It was a super presentation. I think you held us all absolutely spellbound during it. You really have this worked out to the nth degree. Well done, woman. The piece that I really, really liked most was actually the whole idea of either that you're somewhere, you're in Copenhagen or you're in Berlin or you're in New York or whatever, and you say, we are here at this time, you can come and meet us in person, because it actually gives you an opportunity, without becoming a company that spends a fortune on traveling the world trying to meet all of your students.
Yeah.
It gives them all, and it's back to your scarcity piece. It's, we are only here for this conference, we're only here for so long, and everybody can meet up at X time. I love that idea, and I particularly was taken with the idea of the global meetup.
Yeah.
That everybody will arrange their own meetups in their own areas. So you're not trying to bring everybody to one location, but you presumably will have a way of putting each location in touch so that they know that they are part of something global. But I thought the strategy is absolutely fantastic. And I love the way you build scarcity. You're a real marketing woman. I'm on the comms side. You're on the sales marketing, definitely. But I love the way you actually built that scarcity into everything. I thought it was really, really clever. And it also, just to give you credit, it takes a lot when you have that size of a footprint on social media. That takes a lot of monitoring and a lot of minding. And there's a lot of work goes into that. I know people will say, well, it's a blog post a week and it's a podcast a week. There's a lot of work goes into a podcast and a blog post each week, and to actually making sure that you're always relevant and you're always reflecting what people are talking about right now, so that they always want to click that inbox. I think you mentioned that you don't want to see buy in your inbox, but I find that I've more and more, I come through the inbox and now I look at something and go, why haven't I unsubscribed from that? So I'm unsubscribing from zillions of things, and it's not because they're even selling to me, it's just because they're not relevant. They're commentaries that don't really make me think or get me excited or make me feel like I'm involved. So well done. I thought super presentation. I love the whole strategy.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, it's been a cumulative strategy, obviously, that's sort of grown over the years where we've tested things out and discovered what works. And yeah, the community is strong. I mean, I love them to bits. I often describe them as a bit of a cult, because they're so lovely. They follow us around and I mean, it is a predominantly female community as well. So we don't have many blow ups in there. And one of our values, I mean, you talked about values at the beginning, is kindness. It's about treating people the way you want to be treated. And we're very, very strong on that. We only really try and project positivity out there into the world. It would be very easy for us to be divisive, to try and sort of pit the mainstream beauty industry against the small players and talk about some of the synthetic chemicals that people use in mainstream products. But actually, we steer completely away from that and we only focus on positivity. Christos, you mentioned the reviews at the beginning. It might be helpful for me to actually tell the story of how we got to Trustpilot and 2,000 5-star reviews, because you said, I'm sure you don't get negative reviews.
Yeah, yes, please. And there was also a question by Andrea Federson in the chat exactly about that. Don't you ever get bad reviews on Trustpilot, and how
Yeah.
do you deal with that? So yes, please.
Well, let me answer that one in a minute. First of all, I think it's worth, because we do have people who talk negatively about it. We're a company. It happens. It would be strange if it didn't happen, to be honest. When I was about a year into Formula Botanica, and again, it was me and maybe two members of the staff by that point, because I'd made my first hires. One of our competitors, unbeknownst to me, went all across the internet and found the scammiest websites they could find, things like Ripoff Report and pissedconsumer.com and things like that. And they wrote 1-star reviews about Formula Botanica and then copied them everywhere. And it flooded Google. So when you searched for Formula Botanica, all you got was just a whole raft of these awful reviews. And quite a few of them were about me personally being a con artist, which was quite painful. You know, that sort of hits right here when someone says that, when you're trying really hard. And I remember sitting there going, what on earth am I supposed to do with this? And I spoke to some friends and I got some really good advice. Someone said, you know, don't play the victim card. Don't go all over social media going, oh, woe is me, this has been done to me. Someone said to me, actually, go and set up your Trustpilot site and go and ask your genuine students to do so. And so I did. And I set it up and I said to the students, guys, this has happened. We were wondering if you'd be willing to leave a review of your genuine experience, and absolutely flooded us with 5-star reviews. And we were off at that point. It was phenomenal. And actually, as a result of something so negative happening, I created something incredibly positive. It's one of our biggest assets now, because as I said, people go to our website and they go, oh my goodness, you've got all these reviews and I've read some of them. They're amazing. People are talking about how you've changed their lives and how you've changed how they feel about themselves. So yeah, bad things can happen, but it's how you respond in that moment and what you do next that really defines how you position yourself.
Yeah,
I just come
absolutely.
back on one little piece, and it's an earlier piece about kindness. You just reminded me, I co-host a podcast, and we interviewed the CEO of BNP Paribas in Ireland, and he struck me as probably the most ethical banker I have ever met. But he had a structure around everything, and he talked about, he didn't phrase it as kindness, but it was treating each other with respect, having respect for everybody else's views. But he had an absolute clear policy on exactly what happens if you sort of misbehave. And I'm wondering, how do you apply kindness across staff and students?
Well, starting with the students, we moderate our groups quite heavily. There is post approval on, so you can't post something up without it having at least one member of the team look at it first. We obviously keep an eye on known troublemakers, because there are troublemakers everywhere. It's fascinating. I go on the internet to look up the most mundane things. Like, you can go and look up a new lawnmower and there'll be people having an argument about it on YouTube. So, I mean, anything can set anyone off, right? So we know that we have to be a little bit more careful with that. And because we're in every time zone, basically, we also can't just let people run freely when we're all asleep. Through that, if we have particular people who are troublemakers, then we will have a kind but firm word with them and say that this contravenes the principles that by which we run our student communities. And we have a sort of a 3 strikes and you're out rule, which is very kind to the other students as well, obviously. In terms of the staff, we have staff values and we adhere to those as a team as well. It's a very close-knit community, even though we're all remote. People feel, yeah, they still feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves, really. So we've created that same community feel in the team too.
Sorry, Christos.
Absolutely. No, not at all. I want to bring in 2 more questions into our discussion. One is by Andrea Feddersen, who asks you, Lorraine, do you have a limit for the classes?
We don't at the moment. And it's interesting you bring that up because it's something that I've mooted a few times, because you can imagine sort of double scarcity then, can't you? Where you go, we're only open for this period of time and we've only got this limit. So I think we will move to that in the future. We're not quite there yet. But I very much like that idea. And we are going to shift our entire marketing system next year. So it's more on an intake basis, on a more recurring basis. So rather than doing a huge event twice a year, which is what we currently do, we'll be doing more things on a monthly basis. And yes, maybe we'll bring that limit in at that point.
Yeah, I think that's a very good idea. I mean, a lot of us, I work for a business school. It's regulated by the Ministry of Education, in our case of Cyprus, that says, you have a maximum number of students is 30 over that. But you can use that to your advantage because there's something great about waiting lists, right?
Yes.
So and especially when those are genuine, because there's so many artificial ones. When it is a limited number, then you obviously I don't imagine many people will immediately switch to another university if they want to study for something, and I'm sure that's the case also with Formula Botanica. The other question is by Chris Wolstenholme, who asks, how do you deal with new platforms? And we noticed that you mentioned YouTube. You obviously have success as Chris with Facebook and Instagram. How do you decide how much time, and I may add money, to dedicate on new platforms?
Good question. We haven't had success on every platform. TikTok is the bane of my life that we still haven't cracked that one, but that's also because we haven't put the effort into it yet. So we look at, first of all, where we think we're going to reach the majority of our audience. And we know that they will be on Pinterest, and we know that they will be on Facebook, and they will be on Instagram, but we also know that actually we would really, really do better if we were bigger on YouTube. So we sort of weighed up the pros and cons there and said, right, YouTube is our big strategy for 2026. And then what we've done is we've built an entire process around it. We haven't released any videos yet, but what we've started to do is we use AI in this as well, by the way, is we're actually revisiting loads of our old blog posts, looking at which ones don't have a video, then creating scripts for those with hooks and angles, some of that AI, then I go over it, then the whole education team goes over it, then I go over it, then they go over it again. We're going backwards and forwards until we have scripts that we're really happy with. I have a studio here at my home, where we have a bespoke lab bench built. The team then congregates there together. We film for 2 days. We film videos for YouTube. We film videos for Instagram and other socials as well. And those will be all dropping next year. And then we're going to start pushing those out every 2 weeks to our audience as well. So that's very time consuming. It's also quite costly, but we know that that's going to be the way to reach what we call the top of the funnel. So the people who haven't really thought about formulation yet, because they'll be the ones searching on YouTube. I would love to have a team of 30 social media people who are like on every platform all the time, but we've had to just prioritize what works best for us at the moment. And that for now has been Facebook and Instagram, but we're shifting the whole thing to YouTube. And to be fair, I mean, without really putting all that much effort in over the last 10 years, we've got 78,000 subscribers there, which is quite astounding, really, given that we've not really put much content out. So I'm hoping that will do very well.
Yeah, and it's exactly what you said, Ellen, that you need to know where your customers are. As you graphically put it, go to their watering hole when they come to be there already. I imagine one of the challenges is to also find where your customers might be. but perhaps not many. Despite what we sometimes think, there is a kind of like monopoly of platforms in the sense that there's like three or four, and yes, there are new ones that every now and then, like TikTok, I imagine, is the sort of like famous example of that. But yeah, that requires listening to your customers and also perhaps being a little bit reactive rather than proactive.
It also requires you to spend time on those platforms yourself. And I find that a lot of people don't do that. So then they go, I must be big on TikTok, but they don't actually really know how TikTok works. And I decided I was going to figure out how this worked. So I just sit there and I scroll through things and I figure it out and I click on stuff. And my team does the same. So it's, yeah, if you want to be big on a platform or you want to grow on a platform, you have to spend time on it too and really understand what other people are saying on there, what's trending, how you use the different functions, just play around with it.
And you also need to be very careful that the platform reflects what people expect of your business. I gave a talk a couple of years back, and an Indian gentleman who was in financial services I raised a question afterwards and said that he had all of this sort of business platforms for his financial services business, but he had a massive following on TikTok for Indian Bollywood dancing that he did. A huge following, and people said, "Oh, I never realized you had such a personality, and this is fantastic." And his question was, should he join the two together? And I was absolutely horrified. I was saying, no, no, no. If I want to buy financial services, I want to buy from somebody who's quite boring. I expect somebody to sit there and work through the figures and be very sensible. The fact that you have another life is fine. But if you combine the two, it will actually seem completely inappropriate and it won't work for me. And I think part of the challenge with and we're still talking about social media strategies as opposed to social media platforms, as opposed to specific influencers, which is now a hugely growing thing. But specific platforms, it's not really about can we get onto it and how well can we master it? It's also about, is it appropriate that we are there? So is TikTok somewhere I would expect to see your company? Because TikTok has such a, I don't know, a young of Ivy, an irreverent kind of feel to it. And will it work for your company? So just, sorry, another area to be conscious of. And then the whole area of influencers and the number of people now who use influencers in order to reach people that they can't reach in other ways. So people will buy from Gwyneth Paltrow because Gwyneth Paltrow said, "Isn't this amazing? You should buy from it." There's a colleague of mine recently did a deal with an influencer because it's all about money. You pay somebody to influence on your behalf, but they'd spent a long time actually explaining what the product was about and who used it and the values that they had in the company. And the influencer eventually said, yes, that's fine. They did the deal. And for whatever length of time, she promoted the product. And then 2 weeks later, she began to promote a competitor's product. And when I spoke to the PR consultancy about it, they said, yes, but we couldn't afford to pay her not to promote, to buy that extra space for another 6 months or so. And I thought the problem was actually deeper. The problem was that they hadn't found an influencer who got the product. They hadn't found an influencer who said, I love organic products. And so this is really my thing. And yes, please pay me for, something I would probably do anyway. They had found somebody with a large audience for whom it was money. Yeah. And influencers now have to let you know that they are being paid in order to promote, which is absolutely right. But that diminishes slightly their influence. So I think it makes it even more important to find the right influencer. But I do think influencers, because they reach such a niche market and because that market is so loyal to them, I think influencers are going to be much more important in the future. And you can see it if you look at the politics in the United States. You can see that the influencers actually have larger audiences than a lot of the nighttime show. Jimmy Kimmel has a small audience by comparison with some of the other political influencers in the States. Yeah. And it's definitely the way it's going.
It's an interesting one because we've rarely worked with influencers. We've worked with micro influencers in the past who wrote reviews of our courses in return for a free course. And those have always ranked well in Google, but it's so easy to go viral nowadays. It's so easy to capture people's attention. For instance, I bought a new handbag recently just from watching one TikTok video of a lady in Spain who went, "I started my first business and I've made this handbag with plant-based leather." And I went, "Okay, my ears have pricked up. I want to know this. I want to follow her story." And I immediately signed up for a mailing list. I thought, I just want to follow along. And then she eventually had her first run of handbags. I was one of the first people who bought. I think she sold about 50 or 100, and that funded her business for the rest of the year. And I thought, you went viral with that video because everyone just loved you, they loved your story, they loved connecting with you, you were so authentic, and that's her first year in business funded right there. And I love that because anyone can do that as long as they bring that authenticity, that reciprocity, and the interest component into it as well. And I think big companies often struggle with that because unless they have a really sort of dynamic young team who are prepared to sometimes go off script, it's hard to put things out there that do sort of really capture people's attentions. So yeah, it's an interesting one. We see it a lot with the beauty industry. I mean, there are loads of beauty influencers, but we wouldn't work with them. I mean, we can make more money just by sending out blog posts and attracting people in through content than we would ever make from an influencer post.
We'll come back and have this conversation in 5 years' time.
Okay.
We'll be here. Thank you, Lorraine. Tony, would you like to ask a question?
Thank you, Christos. Lorraine, I know a lot of your courses have, not only is it your mission to teach the world to formulate, but also to sell the products that they formulate. So I'm making the assumption, A, that the courses have a business component in them, and of necessity also have a sales and marketing component. So my question really for you is, what transfer is there between Formula Botanica's own sales and marketing strategy and the kind of sales and marketing strategy that you teach on your courses?
There is a fair amount. However, of course, we sell a digital product and we're teaching people how to make a physical product. It was one of our graduate products here on my desk. And so there are two main routes to sell a physical product, really. There's through your own website, e-commerce, direct to consumer, and there's through retailers. So the courses cover both of those angles. But the direct to consumer process that we teach from a sales and marketing perspective very much parallels what we do. Because obviously, I mean, everything I talked about today in my slides, you can apply that model to any company in any sector in any way. It's about building content. It's about being visible. As you said at the beginning, Ellen, visibility is critical. If you cannot do it, you have to just get over yourself. I was very much there in the beginning as well. I didn't want to make videos and off I went, and suddenly the whole thing snowballed because I was visible. So yeah, we teach all of that in our courses as well, because we want people to be able to not just make a product, but also turn that product into a business. And those are two fundamentally different skill sets. And many of our students would rather be in the back room, sort of tinkering with their ingredients and making their skincare products. But saying that, I mean, some of our students have had phenomenal success. One of our graduates, Sandra, she's in the US. She runs a brand called Nopalera. She's from Mexico, and people kept telling her that Mexican products were cheap, and her big mission is to show the world that Mexican beauty products can stand shoulder to shoulder with the sort of more Eurocentric big beauty brands. So everything contains the cactus, the nopal cactus. You can even see the cactus logo in the hair there. And she went on Shark Tank. She's doing like $3-4 million dollars per year in revenue, selling millions of units. It's incredible. And I hear stories like this all the time. Last week, I interviewed a student from Slovenia who's on track to do 5 million euros in sales this year. Yesterday, I spoke to one of our students in Pakistan. She's been going for 10 years. She has 350 staff. They have one of the only factories in Pakistan to make personal care products. They're selling millions of units per year. They dominate the luxury hotel market in Pakistan. It's incredible to see the results that they have. And I'm always a bit sort of hesitant to go, have we helped you in this? And then they go, yes, you were amazing. And I love that we can take a tiny bit of credit of their success. Not much, but a tiny bit.
I'm sure quite a lot. Thank you.
Can I ask a supplemental question? Why do you think that you said at the beginning that most of the people it's mostly women who study with you, which makes sense for cosmetics. but that most of those people want to run their own businesses, whether that's a sort of mom and pop or, as you said, like a side hustle, or whether it's developing it into a business. Why do you think you actually attract not so much the people who want to just make cosmetics for themselves, but an entrepreneurial profile?
That all comes down to how you make cosmetics. It's a fascinating journey. So people will go, okay, I've bought a product for typically when they have a child. That's how I ended up there as well. I had a baby and I was looking at the thing I was putting on my baby and I turned it over and I went, what the actual is that? I have no idea what these ingredients are. And then I thought, I'll Google it. And because that's what everyone does, right? You read the big long chemical name on the back and you Google it. And then you end up on some fear-mongering website that goes, this is going to kill you. You must now make your own cosmetics. And then you learn about all these DIY cosmetics. And then you end up on YouTube and Pinterest and Instagram with all these very sketchy recipes. And you try something at home and you think, I'm going to make my own lip balm because that sounds really easy. And it is. I mean, it's so simple. You melt together some oil, some butter, some wax, you let it solidify, bam, there's your lip balm. But you don't just make one because you have to go and buy the ingredients. You'll always end up making a batch of 10 or 20. And then you sat there going, well, I can't put 20 lip balms on. What am I going to do with this? And you give them away to your family and friends. And then someone somewhere will go, you could sell this. And at that point, all the light bulbs go off because everyone will have seen a small indie beauty brand somewhere at a market, or they'll have seen someone in their community do it. And they'll realize that this is something they're passionate about. And it's something that can help them create something for themselves, which doesn't necessarily mean they have to leave the house either. It can give them a supplementary income. It can give them meaning. In fact, it's the origin story of the beauty industry because actually the giants of yesterday, you know, the Elizabeth Ardens, the Estee Lauders, they were exactly the same. They were just mixing up things in their kitchen, tried it out for themselves, turned it into a brand. And of course, they are now, you know, $100 million company, $1 billion companies, I should say. So it's wonderful to see how these women predominantly think this is my ticket out of my day job, out of the life I'm in. And for many of them, it really is. And we show them how to do that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really, really fascinating. I was thinking as you were both of you talking that you know this webinar is called the Growth Formula: Social Media plus PR equals business success. But I was thinking as I was hearing you both that there isn't really one formula that works for everybody. But also more than that, I was thinking that perhaps it's wrong to treat PR and social media as if they were ingredients. It seems to me they're much more, and they are the strategy. They are the essence. And then it will also perhaps be wrong to treat separate the two as if we have like this value and we just want to like use social media and PR to push on our agenda. And it's really amazing how within Formula Botanica this has really grown organically, right? your PR and social media strategy. And from what you're saying, Ellen, I'd like to ask you. We've got about 3 minutes for any final comments and questions for you. Ellen, PR is not something that is removed or something that should come after the effect, but it really is where one has to be to pick up on new things, to communicate things, to reflect. So I just wanted to invite you both. We've got a minute and a half each for any concluding thoughts or questions or predictions or anything you'd like to share with the rest of us.
Well, I disagree with you slightly. I don't think PR and social media are the same, that they're tools. I think social media is a tool. I think PR is a skill that every business needs. And PR effectively is, how do you communicate? How do you communicate with stakeholders, with staff, with customers? And social media is one of those tools. So I think of a good PR person as like a doctor with a doctor's bag, an old-fashioned doctor with a doctor's bag, and they open it up and say, now let's see how we're going to treat that cough. And they can either make it better or worse or do nothing with it or send you off to a hospital or give you a mild prescription. And I think good PR is about how do you, in a world, particularly nowadays, where communication is fractionalized, where people have absolutely no time or believe they have no time. So you were saying that the video caught your eye on YouTube, Lorraine, and you said, well, what is that woman doing? If you look at the way people scroll, I often watch people scrolling on their phones as opposed to talking to the person sitting in front of them, and they scroll, like, scroll, what's that? Like, scroll. It's very, very fast, but they will tell you, like a good journalist, that they have seen the content, so you can't serve it to them again. They may have scrolled on through it and they didn't like it, but they have seen it. And I think one of the big challenges for communication now is how do you reach those people in a world where nobody has any time? But more crucially, when you flip it to a crisis situation or something that has gone wrong, and you really want people to hear your side of the story, how do you reach them then? And I think PR is about setting up the right channels to meet the right people, or to reach the right people, so that when you do need them for whatever reason, whether it's as customers or stakeholders, or as people that you really need to influence on your own behalf, that the appropriate channels are there to reach them. Lorraine?
Yeah, I agree. And I would just, as my closing words, would just say, I think there is a formula. I don't think it's going to date, because if you stick with those sort of high level principles I talked about and Ellen talked about at the beginning, you know, authenticity, credibility, community, reciprocity, scarcity, those things will never date. And you can fill in the blanks for what your organization needs to do. You know, we've done it in our way, but everyone can come up with a different way of doing that. But if you're authentic and you're generous and you're kind, you have those values, and you build a community around you, and you constantly give away value, and then you build those scarcity components into it, I think anyone can grow their business and sell quite a lot of products with it, as we have shown over the last 10 years. But most importantly, we've had a huge impact. I don't know if you can see all the products stood behind me. As I said at the beginning, I get sent parcels from all over the world. And in those parcels are these beautiful skincare and haircare products that I get. But most importantly, there are handwritten letters. I have a big file full of them. People going, you changed my life. You changed my life. I can't thank you enough. When I do meet people in person, they often, some of them get choked up, not because it's me, I certainly hope not anyway, but because they want to tell me their story so badly. And as they're telling me their story, they get so emotional because it means so much to them that they've been able to change their life, that I realize that's the impact that we're having here. So growth and marketing and sales are fantastic, but actually the impact is the biggest thing. And that's the thing that obviously you have to aim for the whole time. That's your North Star. So that's what I'd end on.
Absolutely. And this is what we sell, right? We sell education, and education is not a product. It's a way of being, it's an opportunity, it's hopes, it's dreams. So that was a great way to end. John, would you like to say a farewell?
Well, first off, I'd like to thank you all, Lorraine, Ellen, and yourself, Christos, for a really fascinating session. I don't think there's anything I can say in terms of a summary that sums it up better than what Lorraine has just said. I mean, we all know, you know, from marketing that the more authentic you are, the more real the story that you tell is, and the values that you bring to your business are so important in terms of what you do. So, no, I thank you for that. I mean, it's been great, and I'm sure everybody's really, really enjoyed that. If you've enjoyed the webinar, and I'm sure you probably have, we would like to see you at OEB in Berlin on the 3rd of December, when EADL takes on further discussions about distance learning, and in particular the use of AI and learning analytics. The workshop is part of the pre-conference session for OEB, so it is in fact free. So it's part of that reciprocity deal if you want to come along. So we look forward to seeing you, and we'll be back with another webinar probably in the next year. So we look forward to seeing you then. And thank you again for participating. Thank you for coming. And thank you once again to our speakers and panelists.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks a million. Cheerio.
Bye.